Hello, this is Coach Tim Campbell, and I'm your host for the Self-Made is a Myth, Make a Difference Together show, where we're talking with successful business owners about the stories of their journey to building their business. And because we know that success doesn't happen on our own, we recognize the folks who have come alongside us and helped us to excel. I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us today. My guest was part of a science Olympiad in 8th grade and his freshman year, and is a two-time state champion in astronomy. We will want to hear a little bit more about that in a minute. One of his favorite things to do is tailgate at the Indy 500, where he spends almost a week hanging out with his friends. And again, we're going to want to hear some more details about that. And he is proud of being able to give back by sharing his experience and helping students learn where he teaches at Ivy Tech, both in design and marketing. It's my pleasure to welcome Jay to the show today. Hello, Jay.
Hey, Tim, how you doing?
I'm awesome. Well, hey, let's start with having you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born and live and family and hobbies and all that fun stuff.
Okay. So actually, I was born in Indiana. I was born in Valparaiso, Indiana, but my parents lived in Crown Point. But we moved when I was 3 months old, moved to Alabama, then we moved to Pennsylvania, then Texas, then Pennsylvania, and then back to Indiana, back to Valparaiso. So my dad worked for US Steel and just got transferred a lot. So, but we eventually came back to Indiana when I was in 7th grade. So I've been here ever since, except I did a 2.5 year stint in North Carolina. Working for a home builder that was based in Indiana, but had a position out there. So moved around a lot, but I'm mostly a Hoosier. Yeah. So I went to school at Purdue University, or college at Purdue University. Got my degree in visual communication design. So basically graphic design. So I guess I'm one of the few people who's actually doing what they went to school for. But let's see, hobbies. I work a lot. I don't know that I have a whole lot of hobbies anymore.
Well, tell us about the tailgating.
Yeah, the Indy 500. That's probably my only, I guess, true hobby. So I have a friend from college. He was a fraternity brother in college. And he and his dad have been going to the 500 forever. And his dad had this gigantic RV, and they park at the American Legion lot there, which is nice because it's fenced off. Because if you've never been to the 500, it can be a little crazy out there. And so I don't know, it was 12 or 13 years ago. He said, "Hey, you should come out to 500." And I went out there, and then it just kept growing and growing. So now we get 3 RV spots. We have a trailer that we converted to a food and drink trailer. Has a little window that flips open. We get a bunch of people of sponsors, and we actually I don't know, it's probably about the 3rd year when we started getting sponsors. We ended up donating a portion of money that we collected because we put on such a good show. People would donate money, so we started donating portions of the money to a veterans organization. So this year we're donating to the Indy Honor Flight. Yeah, it's a pretty good time to go out there. Start usually on Wednesday with setup, stay out there and sleep in various places, from RVs to we bought a 10-person tent that I think has only had a couple people sleep in it.
Now, Jay, when you say that you put on a show, what does that mean?
Well, just we invite anybody who stops by is welcome to come. And well, I guess I'm not putting it out there, but like people stop by, we invite people from our fraternity, so alumni from our fraternity. My friend's dad owns a company. Well, he and his brothers own a company, Overton Tool and Die, and so they bring their customers out there. And then a lot of our sponsors will come and invite their clients and customers, and so we just have a whole bunch of people out there, and we have food, drink, games. There's a game out that these guys from Detroit invented called Foaling, which is a cross between football and bowling, which is pretty fun. They do whole thing out in the Coke lot, but we're on the other end of the track. But
Very cool.
So yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's awesome. So Jay, tell us about how the business came about, and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
So I was working at the Finish Line at the time. So I've worked for a variety of like larger businesses. I actually went through a series of layoffs, and I felt like I could never get in and move up. I was always the newest guy there. So newest guy there was always the first one laid off. And so I went through the working for CP Morgan, which was a home builder. Housing market crashed, got laid off, moved back to Indy, got a job at the Finish Line. Was working there, and then they were doing layoffs. I think somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I think they're going to let go of like 25, 30 people today. You don't think it'll be us, do you?" She was a writer, and I was like, she got hired the same day I did, and I was like, no, we'll be fine. Thinking that she would be fine, but I was pretty sure I was going, because I was part of their catalog design team, and there were 3 of us on the team. So I was almost positive I was gonna go home that day, and but I had started kind of working on my logo and coming up with a business name even before that. I was going to start freelancing on the side, and so that day I ended up getting laid off, but it wasn't one of those things where you go home right away. It was, here's 2 weeks and then you're done. So I was trying to cram everything into that day, because when I heard that morning they were letting people go, I was trying to get everything done. I didn't want to leave anybody with any kind of hanging things.
Right.
So I had 2 weeks of kind of sitting around figuring out what I was going to do. But I was part of an Adobe user group where we met once a month and we did training on different Adobe techniques and products and stuff. And somebody in that group had approached me about doing a website and a logo for a small restaurant. And then roughly in that same, I don't know, probably 2-week period, a guy named Nick Carter came and spoke at our Adobe user group, and he's in Indianapolis. He's basically a serial entrepreneur, and he was talking about starting your own business stuff. And so all these things kind of clicked. And then somebody else introduced me to a networking group called Rainmakers. Mm-hmm. So all those things kind of happened at the same time. So I guess I wasn't really thinking about it. My intention was to find another full-time job, but I hated looking for jobs because I'd done it so much. So it just kind of rolled into starting my own business by getting those few clients. But I did have a guy ask me one time, he's like, how are you affording this? And I got a pretty good severance from the Finish Line that helped support me while I was kind of getting things started.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So Jay, tell us a little bit more about the company. What do you guys do? How do you help folks? And how can folks find out more about you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah. So my company is called Angry Ape Creative. You can see the Angry Ape right there. So I do a lot. I work with mostly small businesses, but I have some medium and larger size businesses as well. Do a lot of logo, branding, website design. I have a lot of more people asking me for social media and overall marketing. I do have a client that I just manage all her marketing and design work. So she pays me a retainer to just handle everything for her. So I do update her website, manage a blog writer, update her social media, and all that kind of stuff. But most people come to me, they need a website and a logo. They're just starting out. But I do have some clients that are larger. So there's one company called Amerifab. They produce equipment for steel mills. So they're a large company. They originally hired me to photograph their equipment. So when they finish a piece, they wanted it photographed before it went out. And then I've since done their website, bunch of ads, trade show displays, and things like that. So I just did a whole bunch of banners for him over the weekend. He's going to Mexico, and he needed them Monday morning. So I worked over the weekend to get them printed and delivered to them. So, but people can go to my website, angryape.com. Although I was realizing I need to update my own website. I tend to put my own marketing and stuff
Yes,
off.
yeah, the cobbler's shoes, right?
Right. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So
So
Jay,
as soon as I get done with classes, the classes I teach at Ivy Tech, we'll finish up next week. Then I'm going to try to focus on revamping that site because it's woefully outdated.
well, Jay, share a story where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it. And even though you might not have thought you could, and the impact that they had on you.
So I was really trying to think about that. And I think it's a lot of little things. And what came to mind first was, I mean, it was my mom. Your mom always says you do the best stuff, right? She always likes everything you do. But I'd taken photographs of something, and she said, you're really, really good photographer. And, I always thought I, could take photographs, but I never really thought of, offering that as a solution for clients. And she said that, and I was like, okay, maybe I am. And so then I started offering it, and I started shooting a lot more stuff. And so that kind of made me realize, as long as you know more than the average person, you're the expert.
Right.
And I find that a lot is that I know a lot of different things, and so I know more than the average person. Or most people don't like to deal with the marketing and design, and so stuff that I kind of tend to think of as just average everyday stuff is more scarier or more compelling to them. So
right.
that kind of was a trigger in my head that, oh yeah, I do have skills that maybe I take for granted that I can apply and create a business from.
Awesome. So what's been your biggest learning as a business owner?
I would say, well, I guess there's a couple. One is have a contract. I've been screwed over a couple of times early on in the career where people didn't pay me because it was in my first year, or even maybe 6 months, and doing big projects. They needed right away and didn't have a contract or any way to ensure that they were going to pay me, and they didn't. But probably the other one is not putting all your eggs in one basket. So not focusing on one client to support all of your income. So if it starts getting too heavily focused on one client, you have to think about that and then start trying to find other clients that can balance that out.
Yeah, I love that principle. We have something that we call the 50-50 rule, which is 50% of our time should be focused on business development and 50% on taking care of our clients. And usually what happens is, right, we do good with the business development. We bring on some clients, and then we focus all of our attention over there, and then we forget to market. And clients aren't forever, right? And
right.
When we lose a couple, we don't have the pipeline full, and now we've got a little bit of a dry spell. So same idea to what you're saying is, hey, don't, make sure that you're not all with one client, because again, clients don't necessarily have projects that go forever. So if we lose a big client and we don't have others to backfill, then we're left in a bad situation, right?
Yeah. I'm going through that right now. I just had a couple clients that are their web clients, and they don't have a ton of changes and things, but I manage their hosting, and they're shutting down their businesses just because they're older clients, or they're moving on to do something else. And I had probably 2 or 3 of them happen in the last month. I'm like, oh wow, I gotta gotta find more to fill that void.
Yeah. Yes. So the phrase that that I always use is we have to always be marketing, right? So regardless of what else is going on, we've got to keep that funnel full so that we always have the opportunity to backfill when needed. So Jay, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So tell us about one of your biggest challenges during the years and a fellow business owner who helped you get through that.
Biggest challenges. So I guess this guy brought the client, but it was somebody I partnered with on a website. So it was a website that was much bigger than anything I'd done before. And having that person there to bounce questions off of and ask for advice or how to do things was really helpful. He had more experience on hiring contractors and programmers. So he kind of handled that portion, but kind of gave me some insight on how that should work. So that was really helpful. Being able to, not have to, attack that website all by myself and be able to rely on him for advice or questions or just to troubleshoot things. So it's something that we still work on this and another project together. So it's become a pretty good relationship.
Awesome. And what's his name?
Dan Crawford with Sovereign Systems.
Yeah. So you mentioned just being able to bounce ideas off of, and so something I hear a lot is it can be lonely at the top, right? Where where we don't necessarily have people that we can ask questions to or get some feedback and get some advice. So for everyone listening, if you don't have somebody in your life that you can bounce ideas off of and get a second opinion, you want to make sure that you find that person, because as Jay just shared, it can be invaluable in terms of helping accelerate that learning curve and go faster at delivering the needs of your customers or your clients when you've got somebody else. And it's not always that it's new learning. It's just having somebody to validate the learning that you already have or the thought that you already have. Just having another person say, yeah, that sounds like the right way to go. It can help you speed up instead of wrestling over, am I making the right decision or not? Yeah.
And that, I guess to tag on to that. So I like to, whenever I think of a new idea, or I'm always thinking of new businesses, new things to start, new whatever, I always like to pitch it to my dad, because he usually shoots everything down. And so if I come up with an idea and I'm like, okay, I should tell my dad about this and see how he's going to tell me everything that is wrong with that, or I shouldn't do. Not that he's negative, but he's pretty good at pointing out the things that I'm maybe getting overexcited about and not looking at the practical aspects of it. So that's on the opposite end. That's helpful.
Yeah. I see this a lot is there are people who are more idea folks, and then there's people who are more on the operation side or the execution side. And so it is helpful to be able to have those big ideas brought down to the ground and think through all the nitty gritty of is this going to work or is it not, and if it's going to work, how is it going to work, what are all the variables that we're going to need to be thinking about, and then practically how do we actually execute this idea. So that's awesome that you've got your dad to be able to help you to think through that.
Yeah.
So Jay, if I asked you to pick 3 people in your business owner journey that you're most grateful for being there to help with your business growth, who are those 3 people and how they help you?
So one of them is my dad, who helps control the wild thinking.
And what's your dad's name?
Tom Bilunas. And then another person is, and I haven't really talked to him for a while, but Chris Reed. When I first started my business and networking through Rainmakers, I met Chris Reed, and he had a business called Creed Improvements, and then he moved into a business called Cast a Bigger Net. So he's doing marketing and things, but he kind of became a mentor to me. And now he's actually back doing Creed Improvements. So he's doing kind of handyman, general contracting work. But he always had a lot of ideas. He's a really big networker, and he kind of led me through that whole process of networking and figuring out. So I would say I probably owe a lot to him in that beginning stage. I was trying to think of a third person other than so my mom and my dad are kind of like yin and yang. So my mom, she likes everything I do. More listening, so she'll sometimes just listen to ideas I have and be like, yeah, that sounds great. My dad's kind of the opposite, so that respect. But then I have a client friend who actually does the Indy 500 with us, Matt Weidman, who I just so I do his website and some of his marketing, but he's always feeding me, like every chance he gets, he feeds me new clients. And so sometimes I'll just bounce ideas off of him and see what he thinks, or he'll come up with something that he's trying to do. And so
awesome.
I guess the people.
That's awesome. It's great to have different people in our network. And I like the yin and yang. So mom's more the cheerleader. You've got this, you can do it. And dad's more the, did you think about this and that? And what about? And so that's awesome to be able to have, both of that perspective as you're thinking through new ideas.
Yeah.
So Jay, as you think about the next 3 to 5 years, what are the biggest challenges that you see that you'll face in reaching your goals? And who are the types of people that you're going to need in your life to help you get through those challenges?
So I think being able to manage people. So if I'm going to hire anybody, I've had a couple interns in the past, and I think I was spoiled with my very first intern because she was really good and she just kind of understood my brain, and I didn't have to say much. Since then, I've struggled a little bit with some of my interns, communicating to them or getting them to follow through. I mean, some of them have been great, but I've struggled a little bit, and being able to keep them busy enough. So to have to say, okay, do this. Okay, now do this. So managing people is an area where I know I struggle. I like to do things all myself, and I have to let go of that a little bit. So that's probably I think my biggest challenge if I'm going to grow, because I actually just did talk to a girl that interned with me last summer, and she ended up being my student in a marketing class this semester. But I have a friend who's a printer, and he was looking for help, and so I introduced them. But I said, hey, if that doesn't work out, I might have some contract work for you. So that's definitely something I got to work on. But
that's a common challenge. So as business owners, once we figure out how to be successful and get the business growing, it becomes harder to let go, right, of all that expertise that we've figured out and take the time to teach and coach and train someone else, because perspective I hear a lot is, well, it's just easier for me to do it myself. And short term, that's true, but long term, it's definitely not. And one of the biggest things that hold businesses back from getting to the next level is that the business can't grow beyond the owner's capacity, because they haven't, brought on people to delegate to and train them to be able to, do the things as well as the owner does. So it's definitely a process. It doesn't just happen overnight. But it's great that you've identified that and understand that that's the next area of your business growth.
Yeah, I think what I need to do is start writing down like the processes and the procedures,
Yes.
to so I can just bring somebody in and be like, all right, here's what you do, follow these rules, and then figure out from there.
Yes. Yeah, much easier for somebody to go back to a document and say, okay, I forgot all the things that Jay told me. I remembered step 1 and 2, but then I can't remember. And so be able to go to the document, go, oh yeah, that's right. That's what step 3 and 4 was. Because if, to your point, if we don't have it written out, then they have to come back to us. And then it becomes more trouble because we get interrupted, right, in terms of answering their questions versus, right, if they've got a video or a manual that they can go and refer to with all the information that they need to do, it makes it easier on both sides.
Yeah, we're actually doing that with the one of the clients that Dan and I are working with. Is we're going to create some videos for them so that when they have small updates, they don't need to come to us to update it. They can just do it themselves. So I'm going to create some training videos for them.
Yeah, awesome. So you mentioned Chris earlier and the importance of networking. So one of my favorite authors, Jim Rohn, says that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So as you think about that quote, is that something you find exciting or something that makes you nervous from a business standpoint?
I think it's exciting. Like I tend to, like when I first started, I was networking all the time. Like probably when I first started, half my job was networking because I had more time than business. And it's kind of slowed down a little bit, but I definitely think getting involved with the right people is really important. And now that things are opening up again, I'm getting back out networking. There's I guess it's an organization or company in Indiana called Indiana Owned, and Mel McMahon runs that. And so I just went to a meeting at a little gathering at the Children's Museum, and that was good to see her and her husband, and get that positive energy, and it kind of, you can feed off of what other people are doing, and it kind of gets you excited. So
yes. Yeah, isn't it amazing that we can be feeling maybe a little discouraged or demotivated, and then we go to an event like that and see other business owners who are doing working and networking and striving to grow their business. It can pull everybody's spirits up in terms of, wow, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it too, and let's get in, and it becomes contagious, that positive energy, right?
Yeah, I ran into someone I hadn't seen for a really long time. Her name is Nancy Sunshine, but she ended up just buying rainmakers. So Tony sold it to Nikki, and then I guess just sold it to Nancy. So she's excited about getting that running, and
very cool.
So yeah,
that's awesome. So Jay, just wrapping up here, if there was something catastrophic that happened in the business, who's the first person you'd call, and what would that conversation be?
So I guess it would depend on what happened, but something like happened to me where I wasn't like, if I was sick or something like that, I would call someone in my family, so my mom, dad, my brother, and make sure they could access all my passwords. So they could then communicate out to they could access all the, every website or everything. Not that they would know how to do it, but they would at least have the access to be able to get that stuff. I've been trying to figure out who's going to be. So I'm a one-man show, but trying to think. I've been thinking a lot about, all right, what happens if something does happen to me? Who's going to take care of my clients? So I'm trying to line up different people for those different aspects. So like Dan Crawford, I could say, hey, you can handle these websites. Maybe you don't handle all these smaller clients, but can you at least assist them to get access to their sites? Because some of my clients don't, they have the ability to log into their sites, but they don't, and they forget what that information is.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I'm always nervous about getting my clients the information they need so they can move on after. Like, so if I get hit by a bus tomorrow,
right,
it doesn't affect their business.
Yeah. Awesome.
So
yeah, I love that contingency planning. So Jay, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people who have helped you on your journey. If they were all here on the show today, what would you want to say to them?
I guess thank you for supporting me and helping me on this journey, and for all the advice and support that I've gotten over the years. So I couldn't do it without them. Definitely.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you so much, Jay, for being on the show today. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
For everyone who tuned in, thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show with your host, Coach Tim Camsell. Be sure to help us spread this movement by liking the show and posting about it on your social media. To join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Make sure to pay it forward, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.